Good morning and welcome to Korea Today, live from Seoul.
More tears, hugs, as well as laughter as the second group of South Koreans meet with their North Korean families in the North's Mount Kumgang. In the meantime, Seoul and Washington are set to kick off their joint military drills on this Monday while keeping it low-key.
And we'll take a review of the Sochi Winter Games as we say goodbye to Sochi and hello to Pyeongchang.
And in business news, the outlook for semiconductors is rosy. We'll have a projection on how big their export numbers will be this year.
One of the biggest blockbusters on Hollywood is scheduled to be shot here in Korea. More details on how quick, so stay tuned for that.
Geun-hye, or the EC, will now be alongside the Sea of Japan in Virginia textbook. Will the East Sea movement gain momentum in other states? Na Hyun-kyung has more from Los Angeles. And with the tough job market, employment prospects have many people concerned. And when the going gets tough, the tough get going, finding innovative and alternative options on Korea Today, Monday, February 24th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good morning. Thank you for joining us for this Monday edition of Korea Today.
Good morning. Thank you for tuning in after all the cheering and chanting for Team Korea over the weekend. But there goes my voice. Now, the Sochi 2014 Winter Olympics has come to an end with a grand closing ceremony on Sunday titled Reflections of Russia that focused on Russian culture, art, and literature. After a bit over 2 weeks of fierce competitions, thousands of athletes bid farewell to one another, some wishing to meet again in 4 years, this time in Pyeongchang, South Korea. The Olympic flag was officially handed over to the Korean city located in the mountains of Gangwon-do province near the east coast. After all was said and done in Sochi, Russia came out on top for the first time in 20 years, having won 13 gold medals, 2 more than Norway with a total of 33 medals. Korea came in 13th with 3 gold medals, 3 silvers and 2 bronze medals.
In the second set of reunions for war-torn families, hundreds of South and North Koreans were reunited on Sunday for the first time in 6 decades. A total of 357 South Koreans were reunited with 88 elderly relatives from the North, with some traveling from the U.S. and Canada. The much-anticipated reunion went ahead despite growing tensions over Seoul and Washington's joint military drills. Looking to placate Pyongyang, a South Korean military official said the exercises would be carried out in a low-key manner in consideration of the ongoing reunions. The computer-based command post exercise Key Resolve begins today and runs until early March, while the Foal Eagle, involving a set of ground, air, naval, expeditionary, and special operations, will be held until mid-April. Korea's Board of Audit and Inspection is scheduled to begin its inspection of 30 public agencies from today to target existing and potential problems in management and supervision of public institutions and to iron out any wrinkles in the system. A total of 200 personnel will begin the first round of investigations, launching audits on 4 public agencies, such as the Korea Land and Housing Corporations and the state-run rail operator Korail, while auditing 2 public financial corporations, the Korea Deposit Insurance Corporation and Korea Asset Management. From April to June, the second round will look into 10 more public institutions and 10 financial institutions. And Pope Francis has officially appointed 19 new cardinals in a grandiose ceremony in St. Peter's Basilica that was also attended by his predecessor, Pope Benedict. Square hats known as birrettas and gold rings were presented to the newly designated princes of the church, including 5 from South America, 2 Africans, and 2 Asians. Andrew Yeom-soo-jung was among the newly appointed. 16 of the 19 cardinals are under the age of 80, thus eligible to take part in a conclave that is tasked with electing new popes from among their ranks. Pope Francis urged the new cardinals to remain united among themselves and also to be men of spirituality and servitude.
And happy Monday, everyone. Time for a look through your newspaper headlines now. Dotting our front pages this morning are scenes from the closing ceremonies of the Sochi Winter Games. We'll go ahead and take a look at the story on Choson-ilbo. Of course, the end of this round of the Winter Games begins the countdown to the Games 4 years later in Pyeongchang, Korea. Now, Choson-ilbo's image title there has, the image has flag bearers from the participating countries entering the fished Olympic Stadium, and the title reads, "See you in Pyeongchang" in 2018, and the headline under the image reads, "Let's not spend as exorbitantly as Sochi in Pyeongchang." Now, Russia spent a record 54 trillion won, that's about $51 billion to stage the games, the subheadlines reports, and that's a much bigger spend than what's budgeted for the 2018 Winter Olympics, which even after expanding some 34% since securing the games does sit at 12 trillion won or $11 billion. The article adds that Russia's astronomical investment into this year's games is expected to add an extra burden to the country's economy in the long term. So it's pointing out there that Korea should stage economical games as much as possible. Gyeongyang Shinmun has a still shot from the figure skating gala show with the title "See You in Pyeongchang." And I don't know if you can see her there, but there's Kim Yeona on the right receiving the spotlight, a symbolic baton, if you will, as the Winter Olympics is passed on to Korea. And we will have that story, we'll leave that story there for now, as SJ Lee will have a wrap-up of the Sochi Games later on in the show. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other stories making headlines this morning. 중앙일보's headline right here reads, President Park's approval rating at 63%, higher than earlier in her term. This headline comes as President Park Geun-hye's one-year anniversary since her inauguration is just around the corner tomorrow. And as the inserted graph shows, her approval rating currently sits at 62.7%. These figures according to a survey done by the Daily with a margin of error of plus minus 3.1%. Now, that's a more than 10% jump from her approval figures at the end of last year when it was at 51.4%, an unusual occurrence, as the paper says. It goes on to explain the reasons for this turnaround, as including the reopening of the inter-Korean family reunions and the resolution of long-running conflicts such as the railway strike. All right, let's go ahead and scoot on over to Donga-ilbo next. We'll go ahead and take a look at this headline here. It reads, despite commitment to eradicate parachute appointments, practice still found at public institutions. Now, parachute appointments, of course, refers to the age-old practice of plugging in well-connected individuals into leadership posts, regardless of their qualifications. And the subheadlines add that the recently appointed heads of public institutions such as the Korea Mineral Resources Corporation and the Korea East-West Power Corporation have been found to enjoy friendly ties with the country's ruling party. Such a pattern is not only being seen in the appointments in the month of February, but those already made last month as well, according to the paper. And finally, we'll wrap with a look at the front page of Mail Business newspaper. Its main headline reads, Made in Korea, semiconductors make a brilliant comeback. And the paper reports that activity at the factories of SK Hynix and Samsung Electronics are heating up as demand for semiconductors are expected to skyrocket this year on the heels of growing mobile device production. And the subheadlines add that semiconductor exports are expected to reach $60 billion this year. So certainly looks to be shaping up to be a growth area there. And with that, we'll wrap your look at what's in print on this Monday. Next up are your closing numbers from Friday's market action.
There is a thick layer of a fine particulate matter covering a sole, and this really can help with my sore throat.
Definitely, and along with the flu that's been going around,
That's
many
right.
people have been showing up to work here at Arirang TV and News with sore throats. For more on today's conditions, weather, and more, we'll now go to Lee Dami.
Good morning, Dami.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'm reporting live from Dongdaemungu, Seoul. Now on this Monday morning, we're starting off with chilly conditions. Right now it's 0.3 degrees Celsius. Also in the sky, there are signs of fog, but mixed in with it is a thick layer of fine dust as well. I must say I've been standing out here for about 30 minutes or so, but my throat is already feeling like very cloggy and closed up. So there are two things that you might want to take into consideration on your morning commutes. First of all, temperature-wise, like I mentioned, the mornings, also the evenings are still a bit on the chilly side. However, our afternoons are going to peak up all the way to 10 degrees today, so there is a big gap, and you might want to make sure to dress accordingly in order to prevent from catching a cold. As for the air, the level of fine dust here in Seoul, it's at 142 micrograms per cubic meter, which is quite a lot. The level is at slightly bad, so please take care of your health. One way that you can do this is making sure to wear a special mask. Now, it looks like the level of fine dust is going to be quite high up until this Wednesday. And on Thursday or Friday, we are expecting nationwide rain, which will thankfully wash away the fine dust. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the mercury levels for today around the nation. Seoul's highs are at 10, Daejeon at 12, Daegu and Busan at 14, Gangneung at 7, Gwangju and Jeju at 13 degrees. Do keep in mind that the air in the southern parts of Korea are quite dry, so please be extra careful when handling fire. That's all I have for the weather forecast. I'll be back in the latter half.
Now, tomorrow marks the first anniversary of President Park Geun-hye's inauguration, and communicating with the public was one of her key agendas, and she used social media platforms to share her thoughts and even some of her government policies as well.
Many global leaders use the SNS platform to communicate and interact with the public, and Park Geun-hye, or President Park Geun-hye, is the second Korean president to do so. We'll take a look at how the public feels about this and what they view. In recent years, social media platforms have become important interactive tools for communication. President Park Geun-hye has been using social media since 2012 and has received a lot of positive feedback from the public. Currently, she has more than 360,000 Twitter followers and some 111,000 Facebook likes.
Since I can personally read the president's posts, I can better understand what her intentions and plans are. And it seems like she uses social media to win greater understanding from the public.
Initially, I felt like the president was someone really difficult to approach, but seeing her active on social media platforms makes her seem much more approachable.
Since she personally responds to many messages, I think it gives more opportunities to interact with her. And I think it will also give younger people ways to participate in politics.
This is how President Park has used social media since being elected president. The president's first Facebook message after being elected was an encouraging and supportive note to young entrepreneurs with a food venture company. This particular company sent a handwritten letter to the president saying the key to building a creative economy lies within supporting competitive venture startups. The response to them came through a posting on Facebook.
President Park's personal Facebook message expressing her support for our company. Other young entrepreneurs and venture companies gave us a lot of encouragement. And I was touched by her small but considerate online gesture, showing that she cares and wants to respond to the public.
On July 1st, the president shared a message revealing a t-shirt she received from the founder of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg. This posting received over 9,000 likes. President Park has tried to get one step closer to the public through social media. And on July 30th, she received more than 10,000 likes when she shared a photo of herself enjoying her low-profile summer vacation on Jeodo Island.
Normally, the public learns what the president's thoughts are through the presidential spokesperson or official press conferences and press releases. But with social media, it feels like there's a one-on-one connection, and it creates a greater platform for understanding. As a result, it helps getting her ideas and policies across to the public.
After her overseas visit this January, President Park uploaded a picture of a gift she received from the founder of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab. The president said in the post that Schwab presented the gift to her, saying it represents the spirit of building a creative economy. In response, users added comments saying the gift was indeed symbolic. Meanwhile, President Park Geun-hye's fashion style became a hot topic on social media while she was on official visits overseas. She wore colorful outfits, sometimes matching different nations' flags, and she also showed off a beautiful hanbok, or Korean traditional dress, during a hanbok fashion show in Vietnam. While some online users said this so-called fashion diplomacy went well with the president, some questioned whether fashion would actually play a role in conveying any significant messages. President Park has also used social media to share and promote her policies. After designating every last Wednesday of the month as Culture Day, she went out to watch the animation feature film Nut Job with children.
많은 분들이 아무쪼록 이런 날에 그런 공연장이나 이런 데를 찾아서 문화를 더욱 즐기고 사랑할 수 있는 좋은 계기가 됐으면 합니다.
Meanwhile, out of President Park's Twitter messages, the tweet that has been shared the most is her note on the 3rd anniversary of the Cheonan warship sinking last March. Here, she posted that such a tragic incident should never happen again and promised to do her best to strengthen the country's national security.
Social media users easily create bonds amongst themselves, and they can share their opinions online quickly. In this sense, this type of communication has been a way for President Park to gauge the public sentiment. I hope the president and her administration continue to more actively use social networking platforms to openly and freely communicate with the people.
In reality, it's almost impossible for the public to communicate with the president. But through social media, anyone can share their opinions anytime, anywhere. There will be continued interest in how the president uses this platform throughout the rest of her term in office. And the Sochi Winter Games has come to a close. The baton passed to Pyeongchang, which will host the 2018 Winter Games in 4 years.
That's right. No more sleepless nights in Seoul for a wrap-up of the Sochi Winter Games. SJ Lee joins us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. It's amazing, right? It seems like yesterday when the opening ceremony actually took place in Sochi, and now we had the closing ceremony that took place earlier, marking the end of the Sochi Winter Games. Of course, with the Winter Games coming to a close in a grand fashion, the last Olympic ring did open up this time as the world saw a theatric display at the closing ceremony. And turns out they decided to go a bit informal this time as countries were not introduced individually, but instead went for an intermingling spirit as the $51 billion event came to a close. Of course, with the end of the Sochi Winter Games, the torch is now passed over to Pyeongchang.
Now, Korea didn't finish in the top 10 like it wanted to, but I must say 13 is not all that bad.
Right. I mean, we did have the most number of athletes compete at the Sochi Winter Games, but, 13th, like you said, not that bad. But the good news is, they were able to squeeze in several more medals before it all ended. thanks to Park Seung-hee's gold medal finish, followed by 17-year-old Shim Seok-hee's bronze medal finish at the women's 1,000-meter short track event. Korea was able to add a couple more medals and prove their dominance in the sport. Now, Park Seung-hee would finish off with 2 gold medals and a bronze, with Shim Seok-hee finishing off her Olympic debut with 1 gold, 1 silver, and 1 bronze. Meanwhile, the men's speed skating team did end up finishing off with a medal here, as Korea earned a silver medal in the men's speed skating team pursuit event, just falling short to the Netherlands, who absolutely dominated the sport this year. After all that, Korea finishes 13th overall with 3 gold, 3 silver, and 2 bronze medals. Now, of course, if there was one athlete who really did shine during the Sochi Winter Games, it was Victor An, or An Hyun-soo of Russia. And with a ton of expectations for the short track star prior to the Games, he did meet those expectations. Of course, competing in his first Olympics in 8 years, the former South Korean short track star started off with a bronze medal in the 1,500-meter event and would later dominate the other events, claiming gold in the 500-meter, 1,000-meter, and the 5,000-meter men's short track relay, claiming 3 gold medals and the bronze for a total of 4 medals. Of course, it wasn't just the Russians cheering for An, as Koreans around the nation cheered him on as well.
And I heard reports that he secured himself an apartment in Russia as well.
That's right. That's a great bonus for Victor An there. But now let's bring it back to Korea. I think many people were very, very disappointed in the judging scores and Kim Yeon-ha's silver medal. Although a silver is a great way to end the Olympic career, but there was a lot of controversy.
That's right. And one of the unfortunate things was the fact that despite Park Seung-hee winning a gold medal and Shim Seok-hee adding a bronze medal in the 1,000-meter women's event, it was kind of overshadowed by the quote-unquote the controversy that did take place. But once again, you know, the controversy actually went into the weekend as well. And in fact, the fans worldwide are now trying to petition the International Skating Union via change.org, which is an online petition site, saying that, quote, "This is not for Yeon-ha Kim. This is for the fair sportsmanship that is supposed to be central to the world event of the Olympics." While it currently has over 2 million people who signed the online petition, more controversy was brought on when gold medalist Adelina Sotnikova was seen hugging Alla Shatnitsova, who is actually a judge in the event. But of course, it was a great Winter Games for the host nation, as Russia finished off the competitions after finishing first in the overall medal count. And thanks to some last-minute gold medal finishes in the 4-man bobsleigh and the men's 50-kilometer mass start, Russia finishes first in the overall medal count with 13 gold medals, including 11 silver and 9 bronze, for a total of 33. This is the first time in 20 years that Russia finished first in the overall medal count.
They must be really happy drinking vodka probably all night long.
Plenty of partying going on over there. But yeah, it was a great finish for Korea, regardless of the actual results. The athletes, they fought hard and they did their best, right? Well, let's take a look at how some of the other countries fared in the medal standings.
That's right. We did talk about some other nations, Korea and Russia as well. But of course, an exciting finish to the medal count up until the last day. So let's take a look right now at the medal standing. Of course, taking a look here, once again, as I mentioned, Russia is in first for the first time in 20 years with 13 gold medals. Norway finishing strong in second place with 11. Canada in third, thanks to a couple of gold medals in hockey, with the U.S. and Netherlands finishing fourth and fifth. With Korea, once again, like I said, finishing 13th overall with 3 gold medals, 3 silver, and 2 bronze, for a total of 8 medals.
So you cover this story day in and day out. You can get some rest, SJ.
Got some bags under your eyes right now.
Right.
Well, a couple more months, so we have the World Cup coming up shortly, right?
This year is going to be a very big year in sports.
That's right,
here in
especially
Korea.
for you, SJ.
That's right.
So
All
thank
right,
you.
SJ.
All right, my pleasure, guys.
Thank you. And still ahead on Korea Today, at the 18th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, installation artist Lee Eun-sook broke through a self-created wall, putting her name on the map in Germany. She tells us her personal story about longing to meet her long-lost family members in North Korea.
A girl statue symbolizing the thousands of young women who were forced into sexual slavery by the Japanese army during World War II stands at a park in Glendale, California. Now, this has become the bone of contention between the Korean American and the Japanese American communities in the Golden State.
And another ongoing issue is the East Sea movement. And joining us is Na Hyun-kyung from Los Angeles, California. Good morning or good afternoon.
Good morning, Min-jung and Young. And like you said, Young, just now, the so-called EC movement is mostly taking place and spreading in the eastern states here in the U.S. And from the Korean side, it's mostly being driven by the Korean American community. But how is it being received here in California? The Korean American community here has a large presence as well. I was able to talk to some people here in Los Angeles, so let's take a look. The U.S. state of California, home to the largest population of Korean Americans and Japanese Americans in the country. Some may see this as the next ground for a political battle over how to refer to the body of water between Korea and Japan in school textbooks. Recently, in the states of Virginia and New York, where Korean American communities have a large presence, the so-called East Sea movement has produced some tangible results. Virginia State will soon require the Korean preferred title of East Sea to be used alongside the Sea of Japan in its textbooks, while in New York a similar bill has also been proposed. But the issue has not stirred up much attention yet in California.
저희들은 LA에서는 먼저 소녀상을 지키는 데에 대해서
The president of the Korean American Federation in Los Angeles says the greater LA area has been and still is busy trying to protect the so-called Comfort Women Memorial statue in Glendale Central Park from being removed.
일본에서는 굉장히
So right now is not the most suitable time to raise another issue and divert attention, whether it be the East Sea bill or anything else.
동해 변기도 더 나가서 이것이 어느 정도의 완성 단계가 되면은
But Bae stresses that if the issue surfaces in the area, the Korean American community will be sure to throw itself behind the movement 100%. Speculation is, though, despite the large Japanese American community, this may not be an issue of great contention within California, much like in Virginia, partially due to the fact that Japan's history of immigration to the U.S. compared to that of Koreans dates much further back.
If there are Japanese Americans speaking about this with the same interest that Korean Americans are speaking about it, it most likely would be what we call Shin Issei, or first generation. My guess is even if you were to speak to Japanese expatriates or students studying here, most of them would not have a strong opinion on what's going on in Virginia.
The variable would rather be how much more proactive Tokyo will be in its opposition to the East Sea movement in California, given its failed attempts to stop the bill from going through in Virginia. And one thing for sure at this point, though, is that the Korean American community here in California will likely rally behind the movement if the issue indeed surfaces in California. But one of the concerns that people involved have is exactly how aggressive the Japanese government will further get. Some of the people that I've talked to say that they would like to see the Korean government be more aggressive and take much bolder and proactive measures and give more support, even more support to the Korean American communities who are driving for this goal. Back to you, Min-jung and Young.
All right, we'll have our eyes peeled for any further developments on this issue. Thank you, Hyung-kyung, for covering this story. Our Na Hyung-kyung will be joining us from Wednesday right next to us, where she belongs.
That's right. And in the domestic front, another problem or issue that is plaguing college graduates and university graduates is jobs. And still ahead on Korea Today, the competition is tough and fierce to break into the job market these days, but people are choosing the alternative route to fulfill their desires. From rickshaw drivers to carpenters, we take a look at new job trends with Chamina joining us later on Korea Today.
The second round of family reunions for families separated by the Korean War is taking place as we speak in North Korea's Mount Kumgang. And today we're going to meet someone who has a special tie to this separated families.
That's right. She became internationally renowned through Germany, and her name is Lee Eun-sook. She's an installation artist with close ties and with efforts to spread the news as well as issues regarding the separated families of war. So we'll take a look at this next special interview with Lee Eun-sook.
There
There's a special reason installation artist Lee Eun-sook pays close attention to separated families. Her father, who passed away 3 years ago, spent 90-some years of his life longing for the family he left behind in the north.
아버지가 돌아가시기 전에 이북에 있는 그 가족을 만나기를 원했는데 아버지가 그러니까 만나지 못하고 돌아가셨어요. 그래서 돌아가시고 난 다음에 우리나라 그 휴전선 그 철조망이 있는 데에서 아버지가 보지 못한 그 자식들을 제가 이름을 부르는 퍼포먼스를 했거든요. 그래서 아버지 대신에 제가 부르고 저는 통일이 되면은 그 저의 이복 형제들을 꼭 찾아보고 싶어요. 그래서 그 북쪽에 있는 가족도 이제는 지금 정전 60년 또 이제 넘었는데 그런 가족들이 점점 잊혀져 가고 역사에 파묻혀 가고 있어요. 자음 모음 안에 그 6.25 때의 그 상황 이상 가족들의 사연 그리고 사진이 들어가 있어요. 그래서 한글에 자음 모음을 넣어서 북에 있는 북쪽 가족 이름을 부른다 그런 타이틀로 설치를 하게 되었던 거예요.
5 years before she installed her artwork in Injingak, Lee received a lot of attention from the German media when she rebuilt a structure symbolizing the Berlin Wall in front of the Brandenburg Gate on the 18th anniversary of the fall of this great barricade.
베를린 장벽으로 우리나라 이산 가족의 아픔도 달래면서 장벽을 만들었으면 좋겠다라고 생각을 했어요. 허락까지 받게 된 여러 가지 어려움이 많았는데 그걸 다 극복하고 그 앞에서 우리나라 이산가족 5천 명의 이름이 들어간 그런 설치 미술을 하게 되었어요. 이게 그 전시 마지막 날 11월 9일이 독일 장벽이 무너진 날이에요, 실제. 그래서 그날 우리나라는 아직도 남북이 이렇게 분단되어 있는데 그 독일의 동서 장벽이 무너졌듯이 우리나라 남북도 좀 무너졌으면 좋겠다. 그래가지고 그 장벽을 제가 뚫는 퍼포먼스를 했던 거예요.
This Friday, the Asia Hotel Art Fair 2014 will kick off at the largest shopping mall in Hong Kong, Harbor City, and her piece is already on display in front of the mall. Artist Lee Eun-sook started her latest project a month ago, hidden away in a university workshop in Seoul. She was busy turning neon-colored strings into hundreds of chairs that were to be presented at this year's Asia Hotel Art Fair.
현대 사회, 특히 가족 내에 소통이 좀 많이 부족하죠. 그래서 그 부족한 그 소통을 위해서 의자에 앉아서 서로 쉬면서 얘기도 할 수 있고 어떤 응어린 부분이나 이렇게 좀 대화를 통해서 일을 해결해 가고 상대편을 이해할 수 있는 그래서 Chair of Understanding이라고 정했습니다. 내 실외 허버시티에 제가 지금 앉아있는 이 의자 한 800개를 가지고 대형 의자를 하나 만들어요. 그리고 그 의자 밑에 사람이 왔다 갔다 하고 그다음에 벤치 한 9개를 만들어서 사람들이 앉아서 얘기할 수 있는 그런 공간에 설치하게 되었습니다.
Lee has captivated the international audience with her creative and unique theme and message, and currently she's working on another fascinating piece that will surprise the public.
제가 베를린에 있을 때 생각이 난 게 그 홀로코스트에 관한 프로젝트를 하고 싶었어요. 그래서 그 프로젝트를 향해서 제가 10년을 시간을 쟀는데 그게 이 머리카락식이에요. 이제 이게 8년째를 접어들어가는데 그 홀로코스트에 관한 프로젝트가 굉장히 거대한 건데 베를린의 그 메모리얼 파크라고 그 관 같은 모양이 한 1,800개가 돼요. 그래서 그 위에 그 억울하게 죽은 희생자들의 이름을 그 위에 다 설치를 해서 영혼을 위로하는 작품, 어떤 이 조명으로서. 그게 아마 제가 해야 될 일이 아닌가 생각을 해요.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Chun Sung-cho, and welcome to Hot Clicks. The Sochi 2014 Winter Olympics just ended with a grand closing ceremony a short while ago. The hottest issue of this year's Olympics in Korea was, of course, figure skater Kim Yeon-ha. Despite her flawless and jaw-dropping performance last week, she finished with a silver medal, and nonetheless, thousands of web users uploaded supportive messages and thank you notes, making Korea's figure skating queen the #1 topic on search engines. In fact, all throughout last week here in Korea, leading up to the competition, countless advertisements featuring Kim were played on TV and online. And out of them, one uploaded on YouTube by an ad promoter received rounds of criticism from the cyber community for its overly nationalistic copy, using expressions such as, "You're not Kim Yeon-ha, you're the world's most beautiful country, Korea, you're the one and only Korea." Concerned that it'll put even more pressure on Kim, one of her fans immediately uploaded this counter ad you're seeing right now on YouTube. Here, South Korea isn't the main character, but Kim is. Many people approved this video, recognizing her as a true star, who through relentless effort and hard work seized her current position even when the country didn't provide a lot of support for figure skating in the past. Fans posted supportive messages saying that they cheer for Kim Yeon-ha not only because she's Korean, but because she's herself. And along with Kim Yeon-ha, there's another group of Olympic stars in Korea, the short track speed skaters. A video clip that was uploaded last year on YouTube is put back into the spotlight again in the online community. It's titled Short Track Papapa. This video features some familiar faces, Korea's men and women short track speed skaters, dancing to Korean girl group Crayon Pop's famous Papapa dance. It is said that they practiced and prepared for this performance to celebrate their team's coach Choi Kwang-bok's birthday on behalf of the national team. Here, the female athletes from left to right are Kim Arirang, Gong Sang-jung, and Shim Seok-hee, who all won gold as a team for 3,000-meter women's relay. And you can see male athletes like Park Se-young and Shin Da-eun who have shown wonderful performances in Sochi as well. Although the Korean short track team didn't get as many medals as expected, it looks like the Korean web users are still cheering them on and congratulating them for all their hard work and achievements. The Avengers, American superhero film that came out in 2012, was a huge success, setting numerous box office records and grossing $1.5 billion worldwide. So the Korean online community is abuzz with excitement about the latest news that a sequel of this Hollywood blockbuster, Avengers Age of Ultron, is scheduled to be shot here in Korea this year. Its production company Marvel Studios shared on its official website last Wednesday that some of the main scenes of the movie will be filmed in Seoul and Incheon. They said the reason for choosing Korea was because the country features cutting-edge technology, beautiful landscapes, and spectacular architecture. The shooting of the film will take place in Korea sometime between April and May, and the movie is scheduled to come out next year in May, so many are looking forward to find out how Korea will be featured in this movie. And also, that means there's a possibility of accidentally running into Robert Downey Jr. or Scarlett Johansson on the street, so that's something you can look forward to as well. Well, next up, thanks to the rising popularity of this one specific Korean drama in China, Korea's chicken and beer, known as chimaek, has also become a hit. The drama My Love from the Stars, which is still running, is a love story between a famous Korean celebrity, Chun Song-hee, and an alien, well, a very good-looking alien, I should say. And in one of the lines, Chun Song-hee says, It's not uncommon to find many Chinese enjoying chicken and Coke, but as the drama gains more popularity, more and more people are opting to try out chimaek. On Weibo, which is like China's Twitter, famous Chinese celebrity Fan Bingbing mentioned chimaek. And when people type chimaek on China's Baidu website, a special snow falling effect comes on screen. And that's not all. The word chimaek has been specially added to an online encyclopedia. Also, according to a Hong Kong newspaper article highlighting the rising popularity of chimaek, nowadays, in order to try this awesome combo in the city, people have to wait 3 hours. Many people online expressed their interest over a very unique poster that says, "Looking for a runaway Pollock." At first, I was curious myself too, and after some digging and researching, I learned that it was a project by the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries. This domestic pollock conservation project is to alert the public to conserve pollocks that have severely dwindled due to excessive fishing. Pollock is one of Koreans' most popular fish. Up until the 1980s, you could easily fish up some tens of thousands of tons of pollocks, but starting in the mid-2000s, this number decreased to less than 100 tons. So the ministry now plans to bring the domestic pollock population up by supporting more fish seeding production. And moreover, if fishermen brings back live pollocks, the ministry will voluntarily give out 500,000 won, or about $470 as rewards. Well, that's one expensive pollock you would think, but it's that difficult to find domestic pollocks out in the markets nowadays. So I hope, just like the name of the poster, all those pollocks that have run away come back to Korea's water soon.
All right,
That's
sorry
my
for
thought.
butting in there, but domestic pollock, they do grow in the right conditions where it does taste so good. But speaking of tasting good, that chimaek, it's just, so it's catching on in China and it's caught on here. Well, it's been a long time, right?
Especially during the Sochi Games, I'm sure more people ordered chicken and beer.
Yes, it's one of those representative Korean comfort food, I must say. You know, just eating chimaek in front of the TV late at night is like one of the best things ever.
It's amazing how much fried chicken has become so popular. It's actually exceeded in orders for deliveries, home deliveries.
That's right.
And it's beat jjajangmyeon, which was the original #1 most delivered food item.
Yeah, well, that's not surprising. It's my favorite food too. Well, yeah, this is all I have for you today on Hot Click. So back to you, Young and Minjung.
Thank you, Sung-cho, for that. Let's check back in with our Dami, who joins us from the Gyeongdong market. She's going to do some shopping for spring greens.
That's right. Springtime is near, or right around the corner, and spring greens are hot in season. Tommy, over to you.
So I'm back reporting live from Gyeongdong Market. It is one of the largest herbal and ginseng markets in Korea. They say that this entire place is about 100,000 square meters large. It is the largest traditional market here in Seoul. Now, something just walking around the market tells me that spring is almost around the corner. Now, you know that spring is here when you start seeing spring vegetables at the markets. And to tell you the truth, right now with my eyes, I see some spring vegetables. Right here we have some nengi or shepherd's purse or dalle, wild chive, and some suk or mugwort, and there are so many different more. But when it comes to spring vegetables, they say that vegetables in season, are known to be full of nutrients with vitamin C, protein, calcium, and iron. So it's really good for your body, great to keep you healthy. And I'm going to go ahead and show you just closely. So this right here is nengi. Now they say that it's full of protein and calcium. So it's known to have a nickname, which is the ginseng of spring. Now they say that if you eat it or kind of season it with gochujang or red bean paste, it's delicious. And they say that if you make nengi soup, it's really good as well. It's getting my appetite going just thinking about it. Now this right here is dalle or wild chive, and they say it's really easy to pick, and a lot of people like the kick that it has to its taste. So they say a lot of people eat it raw, and our producer actually washed all of this, so I'm gonna go ahead and So it's slightly bitter, but it does have that kick to it, and it tastes very refreshing at the same time. They say, of course, eating it raw is delicious, but also putting it into some soybean paste soup is very good as well. And it's great for digestion, so it's used as medicine quite often. Now, I mean, in the spring, You know that it's almost here when you see all these spring vegetables. And you know, our bodies actually unconsciously look for fresh foods when spring is almost here. So why not go shopping for some spring vegetables and set your table with some of this delicious dalle or nengi. That's all I have for now. This is your look at the Gyeongdong Market. I'm Idami, Korea Today.
The youth unemployment rate has been on the rise for the past couple of years here in Korea, with college graduates as well as people with masters and doctorates having trouble finding the job that they want. But there are some guys and gals out there who are finding innovative ways to make their own businesses or come out with new ideas. And Mina Cha joins us, or Chamina joins us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Mina.
Good morning. That's right. We're seeing the youth unemployment rate being a pressing issue still, and it continues to be. But some people in Korea, they're kind of taking matters into their own hands and finding special ways, unique ways to find employment, and not just the conventional 9-to-5 office job or just another full-time job, but they're finding different ways to fulfill that employment gap in their lives. So we're going to be taking a look at a couple of people who have taken on some interesting jobs outside of these conventional jobs. So let's go meet them in this report. According to the Ministry of Education, there are roughly 555,000 graduates from universities and graduate schools, and most of them face harsh competition in the job market. But there are some who have taken the more unusual path to do what they truly want for a living. Lee Eun-sook is a pedicab driver. 2 years ago, Lee converted his bicycle into a rickshaw and started a pedicab company, which has become a new cultural experience in Seoul's Bukchon. Rickshaws were first introduced during the late Joseon dynasty as a means of transportation.
Talk about bringing back history.
Right? And also creating a business out of it.
Studied in the U.S., I see.
So he probably speaks English, free tours.
And currently there are 9 pedicabs around the Bukchon area.
One of my friends was a pedicab driver when I went to school in Boston. I also worked part-time as a pedicab driver over the summer break, and I had a lot of fun. So I thought about starting this business here in Korea. After I came back here and worked for a company for about a year, I decided to start my own pedicab business.
Recently, Lee's pedicab street tours won first place at a competition hosted by the Korea Tourism Organization.
It's more convenient and fun to get around the neighborhood on this pedicab than simply walking. And it was even more fun because the driver told me a lot of things about the area.
It's also the slow way to travel, right?
In 2012, Korea's college entrance rate was 71.3%, while youth unemployment hit 9.3%. This figure was the highest in 4 years, and the ratio of people who go to college and receive a higher education is high, but so is the youth unemployment rate. What's the reason behind this?
While there are overflowing numbers of highly educated high school seniors entering colleges and graduating to work in the real world, there aren't enough jobs in our society to accept and employ all of these talented and promising youth. And in order to move away from the fierce competitive job market, it seems like many of these outstanding young graduates are applying their white-collar educational backgrounds to pursue creative and innovative jobs that may be physically demanding.
Meanwhile, over in Pangbedong, Seoul. This is Yoo Jung-min's furniture showroom and workshop. All of his work is done manually. Simple designs are his specialty. A carpenter's job is to shape and design raw wood into a practical piece of work. And furniture making is difficult, and because of this, Yu creates and tries out his own pieces.
I majored in industrial design. So most of my college friends work at electronic companies or large conglomerates. But I find happiness in working with wood, and that's why I decided to become a furniture designer and carpenter.
Before Chef Park Jun-woo appeared on a cooking survival program and opened up a dessert shop, he was a journalist. Actress and boxer Lee Eun-sook first got to know about boxing while working on a TV drama and since then has trained hard to become a Korean national boxer. Like these cases, many are re-examining their values and looking into alternative fields to see what kinds of jobs will satisfy their needs while giving them more options to go after.
These are the people paving their own asphalt so they can find their road in life. Now, March happens to be a huge job hunting season here in Korea.
That's right. This is the time when the civil servant exams take place and other companies are hiring. So they call this a very big hiring season for young people. So you can imagine that many young people are at edge at this time. But it's very difficult, of course. And each company and each exam that students and job seekers have to take, they're very different and there are different criteria and standards to be met. And so with these challenges, young people are seeing that they have to do a lot more than just preparing for one thing or one company. And we're seeing that they're having a difficult time having to adjust to all of the different standards that each company has to offer.
It seems like, excuse me, youth employment rate is falling in each year because when I graduated from college, they said youth employment rate was really low. But last year, the youth employment rate was at 39.7, which is the lowest since statistics were kept in the 1980s.
Right. So we're seeing that conditions are not looking too bright at the moment, just because even until last year, as you mentioned, the youth unemployment rate was down. And this is because of the large conglomerates. They're having a bigger impact on the economy in terms of their role in economics as opposed to SMEs, small and medium-sized businesses. And so we're seeing a more economic importance that big conglomerates are playing, and it's the opposite for small companies. And in addition to that, the government, it seems there's more room for them, or there's more need for their support at this time.
Well, I mean, according to the figures, then it's like 1 in 3 university graduates are getting jobs. I mean, that's not a very, very promising type of figure there, right? So what's being done to solve these problems, issues?
Absolutely. Right now, some experts are suggesting that government intervention is needed, that more support needs to be put into small and medium-sized companies. Also, there is a need to enhance and improve other industries apart from the big corporations, such as the services and arts and culture industries. And just more work needs to be targeted for these small and medium-sized businesses, such as I guess you could say internship programs would be a good way to start in the short term and then moving on to long-term things for the industry.
And job seekers too, they need to think outside the box and not just so much focus on desk jobs, but like the report, just go out on the streets and look for jobs that they might find entertaining for them too. I
think you've hit the nail right on the head. I mean, you have to think outside the box, it's true. And the world markets and all the youths that graduate from university, they're having a lot of trouble getting jobs. But it seems that Switzerland sort of has a different case where they have a good rate.
Yeah, absolutely.
A better rate, excuse me.
Yeah, we're seeing in Switzerland their unemployment rate, their youth unemployment rate is 7%, and that's significantly lower than Korea. And this is because there is an effective educational and employment program there for young people. So, for instance, those who go to vocational schools, they have the same opportunities and the same chances to get employed as a student that attends a regular university, a 4-year college. And so these these equal opportunities, they give young job seekers hope, and I guess you could say in a way, and a better chance to make their way up the corporate ladder. And so we see a little difference there in Korea, whereas Korea, the bar is set very, very high to begin with, and to go up the corporate ladder is very challenging, and certain standards need to be met. Otherwise, it's near impossible. So.
Well, meanwhile, it seems that we do have a lot of people coming out with creative ways to find their own purpose in life and make money doing it.
Right. Before you go, but was that pedicab driver any good? Did he drive well?
Yes, he did.
You're interested in going for a ride.
Right, myself.
I would definitely encourage you to check it out. It was a lot of fun, and you might be put off because it's during the winter season. It's a little cold, but they give you a nice blanket, and so you're kept very warm. And I was not cold at all, so it was very good to see the Bukchon area.
All right. Thank you for sharing your experience on this report.
Thank you so much.
All right, that just about does it for this edition of Korea Today.
And we will see you back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Remember, there is some fine dust out there. You stay indoors as well.
That's right.
We'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7.
Thank you for watching.